What's good, everybody? Welcome to a 9/11 trade recap. We're going to quickly go over price action from the day, look at the loss that I took that I think has a lot of interesting lessons to look at, and a really good look into whether you should risk on trades or really just stay completely risk off. And overall, I think it was a really great day to just analyze price action, look at some of the setups. So without further ado, just hop straight in. All right, so quickly clearing up the charts, let's start doing some top down, right? So on the hourly time frame, it's important to understand, and I always do this with every single video. If you watch on trade recaps, you're probably sick of this by now, bro. But literally top down analysis, right? We have SMT on the highs, boom, boom, SMT. But I'm starting to disregard that SMT because it's been in play for about like not 3 weeks, probably this whole week so far, right? So when the SMT is already put in play and it's continuously showing bullish price action to eventually take that SMT out, that's most likely going to be six sister to me. So I'm coming into the day not really looking at it. Instead, I'm just expecting it to now be some kind of confluence that I'm not really looking at, right? Something that goes against my bias and against logic. So I'm not really going to regard it and care about it. So coming into the day, the biggest bias builder for me was this, right? There's two things. Number one, we have this draw right here. So this high becomes what I'm looking at to see is my bigger time frame buy side draw. And then as well, on open, or 8:30 actually, we put in this 8:30 news candle, right? So you guys know what I love to do with 8:30 news. 8:30 news is the most beautiful range ever to go ahead and trade one side of it, right? It's literally every single time it comes, I'm gonna usually probably be trading something like this. This is a really great model to trade if you guys go ahead and decide to, right? So what I like to see is I like to see one side of the range get swept in line with the bigger time frame draw, and then I like to take it, right? I like to trade some kind of reversal. If price gives me the opportunity to do so, then I like to trade the other side. So if you look, I ended up taking this kind of trade today and I ended up getting stopped, right? So kind of sad, but let's go take a look at why I decided to take it and why I think there's some lessons here, right? So the biggest thing for me is this. At this point in the bigger time frame, we know everything has to make sense in the bigger time frame, right? The bigger time frame is just our blueprint, it's our skeleton, and then we flesh the bigger time frame out and by applying our market maker models and all that stuff, and the principles to the lower time frames where we actually execute our trade. So just zooming in or zooming out, right? Why should the market reject at this point and then go ahead and sell all the way back down to this low? The only reasons we have are number one, consequent encroachment of this wick, right? We're now sitting somewhere around consequent encroachment, but the bigger reason for me was that news drawn liquidity, right? It's the thought that we could likely start to rebound from here, take this high, turtle soup this, and now go ahead and distribute, right? So there's two things that I would like to happen today, right? My number one favorite thing would be this. We go ahead, soup this high right here, take these, we place in some kind of SMT in the bigger time frame where NQ over here doesn't take this drop, but ES does. Then I look for some kind of displacement lower, and I like to trade to this as first take profit, right? When building a bias, it's a very helpful tool to go ahead and ask not why should price move in this direction, but why shouldn't price move in this direction, right? So why shouldn't price move in the opposite direction is the question I'm asking here. And that is the only test that this trade ended up failing, because we want to say at this point, I knew going into this that the biggest thing holding me back was that bigger time frame bias that hasn't been swept. So it's less likely to see a lower time frame reaction, right? I'm waiting hopefully for that bigger time frame to get swept, and then we'll look to trade some kind of reversal. But when the trade presents itself, you either have to take it or sit out, right? So when I see this happen, it's one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it because I'm confident in the setup. Even if it goes ahead and gets stopped, it's worth it to trade this, because there are times where price will do something like this, right? Where we sweep this high, come down to soup this level, and now we have equal highs up here. Now we can look to trade some kind of reversal back up higher to then go ahead and take this high right here, right? That's the kind of shit that we're doing. So that's what we need to understand, right? Like, even though I had a wrong read today, it's simply still following the strategy, right? There's no deviation from the system. And as long as we can understand where we went wrong or where we didn't go wrong, or really have self-introspection in a way, that's where we can really start to see growth in our own trading. So the trade that I took, if you guys are really wanting to know, would have been right here, changing the state. I'm waiting for this now to go ahead and get displaced through. So first candle goes ahead, gets placed in a tiny bit below. I want to see real displacement. So I end up waiting for this candle right here. So let's see this candle. Place my order right at the change of state level. I end up getting tapped on that next candle, stop at this high, and I'm looking to see this is full take profit to 4R. And we end up getting just immediately stopped out within a couple of minutes, right? So right on 950 macro open, we're stopped out, and then price goes in and takes this high. Gives us no reversal at all. We just continue pumping. So that's what kind of sucked. And if you end up taking this trade right here, I think this was honestly not that bad. I think this was a better setup than the one we took over here. But same exact thing happened, right? We have SMT, we have bigger time from SMT, changing the state level right here. End up getting tapped very nicely and efficiently. Even if you look for internal or even down to here, you end up don't getting delivered. So it's pretty sad, but I mean, the setup was really nice today. It was just narrative that was misaligned. And I was checking this long setup out over here on ES. I thought this was probably the cleanest setup of the day that ended up playing out. I thought this was definitely a cleaner setup for sure, but this one over here ended up actually playing out like really well, right? So going ahead and checking out this, we have SMT placed in at this external high right around 953. So at this point, we had already taken this external high. So until 1118, we haven't taken that high. So at this point right here, I'm now expecting, since price is looking very, very strong on ES over here, and NQ is still looking like it's pushing back higher, even though we're kind of in that slower type of grind to the upside, where instead of reacting off fair value gaps quickly with institutional order flow entry drill, we're simply just reacting off the order blocks, finding support off the order block support, right? Once we do that, when we're in that kind of phase, I'm still expecting price to continue higher, right? There's not really many things that would tell me price is gonna now continue and just dump, unless I actually see a really nice sell model displacement down, right? So I'm still expecting this to be bullish. So once we pull back into this 5-minute fair value gap, we're around 1050 macro, right? So this is also a really nice time to trade. This is probably the best setup of the day. I'm gonna keep it buck. So order block right here, or fair value gap, order block right here. So we tap into that area, equilibrium with that leg probably most likely perfectly too. So drawing that out, it's right to here, right? Yeah, it looks pretty good. So on the 1-minute chart, we end up coming in, and right in there, we end up placing manipulation leg, taking the low right here. And I wish we had some kind of internal SMT, but sadly we didn't. So internal SMT goes right here. Your change in the state entry, which is the entry I really wanted, would have been right here, and I would have waited for this candle. So I believe on ES, you would have been tapped here. And let me tell you, the best way you could have possibly traded this is waiting for that candle and then waiting to get tapped, and then boom, trading it to this high, which is just kind of bad RR, which is why I wouldn't have traded this. But what I would have done is then I would have left runners until NQ over here takes this bigger time frame buy side level. So that would be at 1118. So leaving runners until 1118. The max R, you could have got this like a 3R, right? If you would have ended up trading this on NQ over here, you would have had to take this what's it called, fair value gap entry. So then trading this to the internal or to the external high right here would give you 1.53R. Still not really the best setup in my opinion, but I mean it was probably the best setup that we're gonna get for this day. Right after this, we saw a 15-second play out right here. So just want to quickly check that out. Every time we take this bigger time frame buy side level, I'm always expecting a manipulation leg to get put in, because if price wants to reverse, there's two things it can do. Usually it's going to do something like this, right, where we come in and we place a low in below this point right here, or a high in below this point, and or high above this point, and then we displace, right? That's the manipulation leg right about here. That's where I like to trade that. Or price might go ahead and do something like this. So in this case, you don't really end up getting a trade. But when we put in the manipulation leg, I always like to zoom into a 15-second and see if there's some kind of internal model there. And most of the time there is. So the internal model right here would have been waiting. This is kind of discorrelated, but the trade you could have taken if you decided to take anything, the one that would have played would have been this change of the state entry and looking for this internal high, and then you have to take profits right when NQ goes ahead and takes it. So I mean, it most likely wouldn't have been the best. The max take profit could have got would have been 1.61. But overall, I mean, I think pretty inefficient action today. This week has been really buns, like I've been saying. Gladly traded the system, the model today. Even though we got stopped out, it's always a time to just sit here and learn and actually understand where we went wrong and build more conviction in ourselves. Because I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what trading is about, right? It's about building the conviction in yourself as a trader and your own ability to be competent on the charts, right? That's what we're all here to do, is build that conviction in our trade and our model. And we're only gonna do that by continuously putting a discipline and just respecting God's time frame, his plan, and everything above, right? So overall, interesting day. Hope you guys learned something from today. I think the overall takeaway was discipline. Know exactly what you're looking for, and don't trade unless you get that. And even if you take that trade and you get stopped, be happy with it, because you are a decisive trader where you know when and when not to trade. You have to be confident in your inaction and in your time that you do trade. So overall, awesome day. Super glad I traded today. And without further ado, I'm gonna let you boys go. So peace out.